Hey everybody, welcome to the film history class. I am your professor, Trevor Younger. So hopefully you all got my announcement on Brightspace about the class actually happening on Mondays. That will be the case for the rest of the semester. I'll publish new content every Monday for you to look at. This Monday, today I guess if you're seeing this, we have quite a bit, right? So we have our very first lesson as well as a syllabus review and just like a kind of class overview sort of thing. So I'm going to go over the syllabus with you, and it is maybe a little bit tedious to listen to, but it is important. So if you really want to get through it quickly, this is up on YouTube. There's a little option for you to listen at like double speed, and in theory, you can still understand what I'm saying and get through it twice as fast. Also, Brightspace, yes. So Brightspace is new this semester. It is like Blackboard. If you've been with us at SWIC for a while, you're familiar with Blackboard. It's the same thing. It just looks a little different. So if you go to swic.brightspace.com, also if you go to swic.edu, there's a little B icon at the top of the website that you can click on and get there. You should be able to see all of your courses here, and you can click on the film history course and access all of our information. Now, you won't have access to the entire class because I'm only going to publish things one lesson at a time each week. You don't have to access it on Monday, so if you're busy on Mondays, you can potentially hold off until the weekend. You just have your homework will be due the following Monday. So just make sure that you have enough time to watch the lessons, to watch the films, and then to write about the films, since that is basically what this class is. Anyway, so here's our Brightspace website, I guess you would call it. You see announcements on the right side. You should see a work to do option here, but this may be a little bit misleading in our class because we're going to have blogs, and you'll just publish things to your personal blog rather than turn in formal assignments. But we do have some exams in here. We have a midterm exam and a final exam, and you'll see those things populate down here in theory if everything works well. There's this table of contents widget, and this will start to populate as we start accumulating lessons and stuff. So the first lesson you'll be able to see here, but I haven't published it just yet, so we can't see it right now. But in theory, right now, as you're watching this video, if you hop on over to Brightspace, you should see lesson 1 available to you, as well as the syllabus review and the course overview. Another area that you would maybe be interested in is grades. So if we click on the grades area here, we don't see anything really because there haven't been any grades yet. But at the top there, you can see that there's an option for grades. You'll be able to see what grade you got, and then also where you could potentially improve. One more thing under, I think it's course tools. Yes, course tools, then discussions. Now, we do not have a ton of discussions in this course, but we do have a couple. So if there is a discussion assignment where you would have to go and just kind of write a little thing, and there is going to be one for our very first lesson here, just to make sure everything's working fine, you'll find that right here. And it's usually just, a few sentences about something. Very easy stuff. But that is basically everything that you need to access on Brightspace. So the other thing that you can access on Brightspace is the syllabus, and it looks like this. So we are in the film history class. That is film 215, and we are on the internet. So hopefully you knew that. We are not meeting in any kind of classroom. Everything's on the internet, and that includes the films that you'll be watching. For the first section of this class, I think the first half of the class, we're in kind of like the silent era and a little bit into the talkies, and a lot of that stuff is in the public domain. It's so old that you can find it on YouTube for free. Eventually, we get to a point where things are copyrighted materials, so you won't find them freely on YouTube. But I believe every film that's assigned for this class is available on I think it's called Max now, not HBO Max. But if you remembered HBO Max, it has basically every film. That said, if you don't subscribe to that, you can access the film in any way that you'd like. I think a lot of these films are available at SWIC's library as well, so that is free, but it is kind of a first come, first served situation, and they don't have unlimited copies. However you want to do it is totally fine. We are on the internet though, so keep that in mind. Don't show up to a classroom. All right, so my name's Trevor Younger. I think I said that already, but if I didn't, that's my name. We are accessible on demand. So again, Mondays you'll have new content published, but that doesn't mean that you need to watch your stuff on Monday. You can watch it at your own convenience. You can break it up if you'd like and watch it over a few days, but you do have to do it each week. All right, so it's any time during the week that you'd like. Okay, there are some phone numbers here. I think that's just for SWIC. We do not have a room. Again, we are all online for this thing. Here's my email address, trevor.younger@swic.edu, and then I have my personal email address here as well, trevor.younger@gmail.com. So any official communications need to go through my swic.edu account. So if you're asking something about your grades or some kind of official communication, anything that you may even suspect should be private should go through the swic.edu account. That said, I check it every day or every couple of days. So if you need to get a hold of me quickly, you can always reach out via my personal account. And if it is something that is like kind of private or a question about grades or something, I'm not getting back to you quickly enough, you can always email me in both places. Email me the specific question at swic.edu and then email me at my personal account and say, hey, you have an email over at swic.edu. Go check that out. All right, so the course description. This class is a survey of the history of motion pictures, influential directors, and cinematic movements around the world, and the historical, political, and technological developments that have influenced the cinematic art form. So it is basically a chronological view of film history to a point. Once there's this point in film history where like world cinema sort of happens, right? Like there's film industries all over the world, and at that point we get kind of striated. We don't follow things like in a linear path. We kind of jump around the world, and we don't make it all the way to present day. We just can't do it. And there are plenty of things that we sort of miss. We don't look at Alfred Hitchcock. We don't look at film noir. And those are major elements of film history, but they could be a really great option for you to write about for a final paper, since you can't write about any of the lessons that we learned about in class. All right, prereqs. So you should be able to read and write, reading and writing placement at English 101 or completion of all reading and writing developmental requirements. So you should be at English 101 level. This is a writing class, right? So we're going to write basically 2 pages every week about the film lessons, about the films that we're watching. Course objectives: identify important cinematic movements, genres, and periods, explain the distinguishing features of the above, identify important film directors and characteristics of their work, explain how technological developments have affected the art form, and analyze how social, political, and economic contexts have influenced films, and how films have, at times, influenced society. So we'll learn about all of these things. You should get all of this information over the course of the class. College-wide core competencies. We're on our second page now. So students who complete a degree from SWIC will gain competency skills in the following areas. So this is like just a thing that they want for all classes at SWIC. So you'll get these things out of the class. You will get computer literacy, and you will get writing. You do have to write in the class, and you do have to create a blog, and you do that stuff on a computer. So that will help you with your computer literacy. Also, you should have oral communication in here as well, even though it's not checked. We do have a final presentation, and that is done remotely. So if you are a little bit worried about your technology, we can talk about that early. If you have a webcam, you can do it that way. If you have a cell phone, you can do it that way as well. Even if you don't have a webcam or a cell phone camera that's good enough, you can always just record your voice and do a PowerPoint presentation. I'm pretty open to what is acceptable for these presentations. There is no textbook required for the course. If by chance you saw that there was one and you bought it, you can take it back and get your money back. There shouldn't be any kind of issue with that at this point, though. We've been doing this for a few semesters now. Grading procedure. Students in Film 215 will create a film analysis blog via WordPress, Blogger, or another approved platform. And then students will be responsible for weekly entries in their blogs relating to course discussions and films screened in the class. Each entry must be the length of a 2-page double-spaced paper, not including any photos or multimedia that may be included. Various assignments and discussions will be given throughout the term. A final paper and presentation will be due on finals week. Yeah, so you do have a blog that you need to create, and you'll have to create that this week, right? And you'll have to do your first entry in that blog. So that is, I would highly recommend you just use Blogger or Blogspot. If you have a Gmail account, you already have an account there. Like, it just kind of connects. Blogger is owned by Google, and it's super simple to set up, right? There's no bells and whistles on that. But if you do want the bells and whistles, WordPress.com is the way to go. It is a little bit of trouble setting up. They really want you to pay for it, right? But there are free options. You need to look at the small buttons at the bottom of the page that says continue with a free URL, continue with a free site. But when you do get it all set up, it has a lot more versatility, and it lets you do a lot more in terms of multimedia and stuff. So if you want to include videos and photos, if you have any interest in creating a website in general, but you haven't done it before, WordPress is a great start for that. Also, if you've created websites in the past, almost every website builder has some kind of option for a blog. So if you're already familiar with some kind of thing that I've never heard of before and you want to use that for your blog, chances are that's fine. It does have to be approved by me, so you should send me an email. The only thing that I've ever had any trouble with is like Tumblr, where I would have to have a Tumblr account and then follow you to be able to see your content and stuff. So we don't want that. We want it to be kind of open to everybody. So if you're not using Tumblr, chances are whatever blog platform you want to use is totally fine. All right, so this is how your grades will break down. Online writing assignments, so those are your blogs, right? One blog a week, every week, until we get to the midway point, and then we're going to start spreading things out. You pick between a couple of lessons because we're going to be starting on our final paper at that point. But these things are worth 50% of your overall grade. So if you don't do your blog and you do perfect on everything else, you cannot pass the class. That is how big a portion of our blogs our grades are. There are 2 exams, a midterm and a comprehensive final, and these make up 15% of your overall grade. The final paper also makes up 15% of your overall grade, and that is a formal 5-page MLA formatted paper. If you struggle with MLA, or MLA is a completely foreign term to you, you can always visit the Success Center on campus, or visit the Online Writing Lab online and get some help with that. These people are very, very good at MLA formatting and correcting issues that may be there. I don't think they correct them for you, but they give you the feedback for you to correct them very easily. That said, they don't help you with your actual research. So if you're having trouble researching something that is maybe it's maybe better to go to the library. They can help you find good resources for research and stuff. The Success Center doesn't really help you with that. So if you think that you're going to the Success Center and they're going to evaluate your actual research and how you apply that research, that's not the case. But they will help you immensely with MLA formatting. Final presentation, that's worth 10% of your overall grade, and it's really easy, right? So it has to be 5 to 10 minutes in length. You have the option to present live via Teams, or you can pre-record this thing and turn it in. If you do the pre-recorded thing, it's going to be basically impossible for you to miss that 5 to 10 minutes, right? Like you can just edit some portions out. If you do it live, it's a little bit harder to hit that 5 to 10 minutes since, it's a live presentation. You only have one chance at it. But either way is totally fine to me. And so long as it lands within that time limit, it stays on track. You have an audio visual element, which means either like a PowerPoint or even as little as just a still image. You'll be doing very well, right? And the idea here is to kind of offset some of the issues that I normally see with final papers. So MLA formatting ends up costing students quite a bit of points sometimes, but the final presentation worth 10% can be all obtained in just 5 minutes for you. So make sure that you do the final presentation. I know some people get kind of nervous about talking, but you're not presenting to anyone other than me, right? And you can pre-record it if there's any issues with like stage fright or anything like that. It's worth quite a few points, and it's very easy points, so make sure you do it. Participation is 10%. So remember I mentioned those online discussions and other things that we might have throughout the semester. Doing all of your homework, right? Like if you have zeros in there, that will affect your participation grade. So it's not just that you took 1 0 one time, but you also get knocked a little bit further. So worth 10%, also easy points. Just make sure you do all of the assignments as thoroughly as possible, and you'll get the full 10%. Class attendance and individual responsibility. So there are no regular class meetings for the film history class. Each student will participate by watching or reading or both the assigned materials at a time convenient for them each week. It is imperative that you participate weekly, but the specific date and time is at your discretion. So we've mentioned that several times. It is each student's responsibility to find a way to watch the assigned films. There will be no alternatives offered. Contact the instructor if you need further guidance. So you'll always have an option, not always, but almost all the time you'll have an option between a few films. So you'll be able to choose which path you want to go, right? Like if we're on the French New Wave, you have multiple options for the French New Wave. You don't have to just watch the one film that I want you to watch. But that said, you can't jump outside of the French New Wave, right? All right, Disability and Access Center. Students with disabilities who believe they may need accommodations are encouraged to contact the Disability and Access Center at these 2 phone numbers to ensure that such accommodations are implemented in a timely fashion. So I would anticipate that if you need accommodations, it's probably with your testing. So if you need extra time, like these are like timed tests, you can reach out to these phone numbers, and then they'll email me and explain what's going on and stuff. But you should always email me too to make sure that I got that information and that I'm doing it for you. That's something that I could easily overlook and forget to do, since I have to individually change the times on these like exams and stuff. So it's also probably a good idea to reach out to me before you take the exam, or maybe a week before the exam comes up and stuff, and let me know what's up, just to remind me. Okay, student learning outcomes. The assessment of student learning is an integral part of the education experience at Southwestern Illinois College. To this end, the faculty continually assess student learning to improve student success. Occasionally, you will be requested to participate in college-wide and or discipline-specific assessment activities. Please take these assessments seriously. The data that is collected will provide valuable information to faculty and will be used to improve student learning at SWIC. So this usually comes in the form of either a course evaluation, where you basically say, oh yeah, Trevor knows what he's talking about, or we had troubles in the class because XYZ. And then the other way is sometimes you'll get a little survey that is like a survey of your knowledge of the class, and that helps us understand whether or not you picked up information. But usually that we try to collect that information from your final exams and stuff. But there is a chance that happens. All right, ethical conduct. This is a very important one. So academic dishonesty, college policy. So basically this whole thing is about plagiarism. And hopefully you know what plagiarism is. If not, it says it right here. Plagiarism is defined as the act of representing the work of another as one's own. Plagiarism may consist of copying, paraphrasing, or otherwise using written or oral work of another without proper acknowledgement of the source, or presenting oral or written material prepared by another as one's own. Okay, so about plagiarism, in the student handbook it says it's up to the instructor what happens in cases of plagiarism. So in some classes, you may plagiarize a paper and then maybe get a 0 on the paper and be allowed to continue in the class. In other ones, you may be asked to rewrite the paper. It really does depend on what the instructor decides. What I decide for cases of plagiarism is that you will fail the course entirely. So even if you plagiarize one paragraph in a 2-page paper, that is plagiarism, and you will fail the course. So do not do it. I get at least one plagiarist every semester in this class, so don't let it be you. And we'll discuss something just a little bit further here with ChatGPT and AI writing, what constitutes plagiarism in that case. I do have tools to discover AI writing, and that is where I've seen a lot of plagiarism in the last 2 semesters. So if you use ChatGPT or even Grammarly helps you write your stuff without errors. You can get flagged for AI writing. So it's really important if you use any of these tools to kind of help your writing, right? To act basically as a glorified spell checker, like tell ChatGPT to correct the grammatical errors in something that you've written. That's 100% okay in my book, right? To just correct grammatical errors. Same with Grammarly. I have no problem with you using it in that fashion. But if it writes anything for you, that constitutes as plagiarism. And even though we can't do a Google search of the writing and find out that it came from this article, we can find out whether or not AI, to a certain probability, actually did write it. And if it's over a certain threshold, it's pretty obvious. And in those cases, you will fail the course, so please do not do that. If you are potentially flagged by mistake because maybe you used Grammarly, but you only used it to correct things, or you used ChatGPT or any of the AI writing services to correct your own writing, just be sure that you have the original, right? So keep those things, because if you don't have them, we cannot do anything for you. We just assume that it wrote it for you. Okay, so if you do use ChatGPT, it does keep a log of all of the chats that you had with it, so long as you don't delete that log. And then for Grammarly, you're gonna, if you have it downloaded like I do, you're gonna need to save an early version, right? And then use Grammarly throughout. So it's really important that you write the entire thing and then edit that entire thing with Grammarly rather than edit as you go, or you won't have that option, right? Okay, I hope you pay attention to this, because it's incredibly important and it's becoming much more of a thing than it used to. All right, academic rigor statement. Basically, this just says that the course is equally as rigorous as university courses, and I know that's a fact because I teach at a university, and this class is the same class, right? So at SWIC versus Webster, same class. If you take a film history class or a film appreciation class, they do basically the same thing. All right. Oh, it also says in here that you are supposed to assume that you have 2 hours of outside study time for each hour of classroom lecture time. So I do think that is accurate, right? So you can't say that you didn't have enough time to write it, right? So if you're expected as part of the class time to watch these lessons and watch the films associated with it, what that's like 3 hours, the idea is that you have 6 hours of outside time to complete your homework assignments. And 6 hours is plenty of time to write a paper, to write a blog post. So you should be good there. Academic support services. This is basically the library and success center that I mentioned before, but now we have a couple of links for those things. So if you want to check those things out, you can just pop those into your web browser, and you can see what they're all about and where they're located on campus. Phones in the classroom. This does not apply to us at all since we don't have a classroom, but, don't have cell phones in your classroom. New student orientation. If you are new at SWIC, I guess this could be the very first class that you look at any content for. There is the option to do new student orientation. I do think it's passed at this point, but you can go to estorm.swic.edu. I'm not sure if that's still accurate, and see when those new student orientation events happen. You can find out where your classes are on campus and stuff. Policy for inclement weather conditions. So again, this probably doesn't apply to us. But it matters for your other classes. So we'll kind of talk about it, I guess. There are all these options to find out whether or not class is canceled. And you should check this stuff out regardless of if you think it's a nice sunny day, because I've shown up to class and there's been a water main break and everything's closed, right? So you can check out these websites, and then also just swic.edu. That's where you should go. Just go to swic.edu, and at the top, there's a little bar that says classes closed today because of whatever reason. You should always do that and just check that stuff out. But you can also sign up for this thing, SWIC Alerts, where you get alerts on your cell phone, which is ideal, right? So then you don't even have to check the website and stuff. If class is canceled for whatever reason, in theory, SWIC Alerts will let you know. If it's just me canceling the class, maybe not, but I will never do that to you because these are pre-recorded lectures, so no worries there. You'll be just fine. For other classes, though, it could come in handy, and if you're going to campus for whatever reason, it could let you know that campus is closed. Emergency procedures. If you want to know about any of these things, or where to go in the case of a tornado or something, there's swic.edu/public safety that has all of the guidelines and plans for any kind of emergency situation, which is helpful to know. Official communication, we talked about this already, but your student email account is the official method to communicate between you and your instructor. So that means your swic.edu account to my swic.edu account for all official communications. That is a privacy thing. Again, if you need to reach out to me and let me know that you sent me an email via swic.edu, I have no problem with you saying something to my personal account. But if it's your personal account to my personal account, you at least want to identify yourself and what class you're in, or I will have no idea. We do have 28 students in this class, so that is a completely packed class. So I expect lots of emails from people, and it may be easy for you to get lost in the shuffle. So it's always good to send a follow-up. If I don't get back to you within 24 to 48 hours, chances are I just missed it. And the other thing with my personal email account, make sure that you have a subject line there, right? Like if you send me something with no subject line, it goes directly to my spam filter. So make sure that you do that as well. All right, that is the syllabus. I know that it's a little dry and boring and stuff, but we will have another video for you that'll be much more interesting in theory, and that is our first lesson video, and you'll be able to find that in the same place you found this one. So make sure that you watch that. And there is some homework for you as well. You'll find all of that information on the lesson video at the end of the lesson. One more thing, these lesson videos were recorded in a previous semester, so dates may not be perfect. So if I mention things are due on October whatever, that may not be accurate. It's always going to be due on a Monday, and I'll at least try to update that stuff via text when I submit the lesson video on Brightspace. The other thing is I may make mention of Blackboard, and we don't have Blackboard anymore. We just have Brightspace. So everything's the same. It's just in a different spot now, right? So swick.brightspace.com, you'll be able to find all of the stuff that I mentioned as being part of Blackboard. All right, so that should cover the basics of the class. So if you want to check out that lesson 1 video, we can get started and get writing and get watching some films.